What's up, guys? All right, so today, yes, King Street mentioned something about the table in the video. Yes, I have the table out. That was actually to help sort things for this. However, then it became the Christmas table, and now it is cleaning out the van while the weather is still pretty. It is back into the 60s today, so we have nice weather, and before it gets bad again, as in rainy and nasty and cold, I'm going to use that time to get some of this crap straight out of my van. And like most of this is the stuff that I had sitting in the front seat taking up room that needed to be sorted into their appropriate boxes, like parts, stuff like that. So I'm gonna do a video not on the whole thing because this is gonna take me most of the day, and I'm not gonna video all through it, but I am gonna video clips of it. One of them being my impressioning kit that I haven't really ever talked about, and I had it out, and I remembered that I was out of one of the keys in here. So I'm just gonna do a video on what I have pretty much always carried. Not this same kit. This is I've only had them in here for about a year and a half, 2 years. Before that, it was rings of keys. You know, just various ways to carry keys for mailboxes, cam locks, simplex, the bypass key, the other stuff like that. Or I meant DTEX, not simplex. So yeah, let's get to it. The one biggest thing that's changed with this impressioning kit of mine is the addition of the Lishi cutter, which we have done in a handful of videos, and I will go ahead and use this maybe as an update for this. I am really liking the Lishi cutter. I have not really had to impression. I used to be really big in impressioning locks, and until I found out there's a much easier way, talking wafer locks, of course, and that is to pick it and then just sight decode it, which you can easily do with the first 3 wafers. It's hard getting to the 4 and 5 wafer position sometimes, but now that I've got this Lishi cutter, and with stuff like, for an example, I did one, it was on the back of a truck, one of these big trucks, you know, one of the like big F-350s. It's jacked off the ground, that had propane tank holders in the back. And it was a long distance out, so taking this and my kit with me, went out there, pulled the code off the number on the back of it, climbed up in the truck, which almost took a stepladder, and just sat in the truck, sat on the tire in the truck, and just clipped out from the code for the toolbox lock. So I'm restocking this right now, and I figured I'd go ahead and just talk a little bit about what I have in it. Obviously, this does not fit in it now. The Lishi cutter, you know, you really kind of have to know spacing really well to do that. That's the biggest thing with this, is knowing your spacing on your key. And, you know, the center line is a good indexing mark. So if you're not great with spacing, or if you're working on something where you don't know the spacing, you can measure it out. You can black it and put it in there and mark it one good time, or even shave it down like you would do normally with impressioning. Well, what I do is put a angle wedge file so it's sharp on top, and you go ahead and impression it one time just to get your spacing, and then you can take a marker and mark it, and as you're cutting this, you line it up with that line. The depths aren't that bad. I mean, with wafer locks, it's basically 1 is no cut, 2 is just a little bit below, 3, and you can use these lines going this way on this thing. You know, obviously it's just a general marker, but when you're talking cam locks, if you go starting here on the top of that, let's see how close we can get, top of that line right there, obviously that's a no cut. And if we go down a little bit, that's going to cut 1 and 2, 3. Let's see if I have a key in here. All right, take this one. take this one for example, it's already been cut. So this one's obviously got our spacing. That fourth cut, because it's upside down, looks like a 1. And then you go down just a bit, 2. Follow it down to the next line. It kind of gets hard to see, so you do have to kind of cock it to the side. Make sure your spacing is on. That would probably be X, because X is like between 3 and 2 and 3, and so on. So, and it cuts perfect cuts for the same thing a 1011 will. If you were cutting this on a machine, it pretty much cuts your perfect cuts. You do have to be careful if you have one deep cut next to a shallower cut. You're going to have to kind of angle it and chip away like this. And it is, as long as your blade's not dull, you can do just a little bit at a time. That's one big thing with like a nibbler style tool is it's slippy, so you kind of have to hold it, and then when you do get it on there, you got to make sure you're not cutting it at too much of an angle. But yes, the Lishi cutter has been a wonderful tool, especially, I mean, I literally paid for it in one job. It's not that big of a deal. In fact, I'm probably going to buy another one just to keep around. But in the meantime, so in our front row here, we've got the Y11. Zoom in. Are we zoomed in? Zoom in. I've already removed the tools that normally sit here because I started cleaning this and I thought, hey, I'm going to do a video on it. So yeah, Y11, 12, 13, 14. These are short Y11s or already modified Y11s. Here we have the AP1234. Then we go into the Chicago and the Corbin keys, B1s, Hayworth, filing cabinet keys. Now these, well, this is the IL9, the Illinois style, but in the same thing, which is literally what I'm doing right now. This should be over here, is making sure I have enough of everything. Now, when it comes to using that Lishi cutter and impressioning with a file, which here is my normal file that I use. This is a really, really old file, probably more than 15 years old. And that tip has stabbed me in the knee many a time. So when you're impressioning CO106 style locks, which are small pin locks instead of wafer, there's a lot less tolerance give than in cam locks. So I try to do all of those on the machine because, you can, if you're in a pinch, if you're in a bind and you have to use that to clip out one of these, good luck. There's a lot more depths. I think these have 0 through 9. So very finite amount of clearance between each depth. And if you're off on one, the tolerances are just sometimes tight enough to make it not work right. So still not an ideal solution, but I do carry them just in case. Most of the time on mailbox locks, I'm going to replace just as security, because in my position, I get called out to don't have a key for the mailbox. Well, you want to change the mailbox so that whoever had the keys before do not come into the mailbox and steal your mail. So most of the time, it's just pick and open and replace. So let's see, why do I have a core in here? I'm going to get rid of this and move some of these other things. Let's see, this goes over here. This is a depth, no, these are cut keys. That looks like, I don't know what I did there, but they're Y11, so I'm going to go ahead and put that there. Tried something here. I don't know what I was doing on this. This is one, definitely looks like I clipped it out. Here is a 17003 pre-cut key. We'll put that aside. Is a fire panel key. And the 1054 UNs, that is every so often on the really old D-Techs, they use these. These worked better for the battery change key. Don't use it as often now, but you still do use it every so often. So I'm going to get my count here correct and go ahead and stop this video. Like I said, I just thought I would share with y'all some of the keys that I keep in here. And while I'm straightening it, some of these are a carryover, like these Y153s, you know, those are old Chrysler keys. I so very rarely even have calls for that, so they barely run anymore. And these Y155 keys, probably going to phase a few of those out because, again, it's not a common thing. These old Chrysler keys, I just carried these over. So I'm probably going to at least clear out one area and move in like some FIC. I need some FIC keys in here for sure. And vice grips for impressioning when I do need to hold a key or impression. Definitely vice grips come in handy. And I prefer, you know, there are tons of impressioning tools out there, but the 4-inch vice grips are wonderful. I actually had, when I was cleaning out my desk that I was talking about over there the other day, I found a stash of tools that the person who set up that area for himself, or his work area, had snagged one of my 4-inch vice grips. And it is a 20-plus-year-old pair. And I located it in a box of tools that was underneath, way deep underneath. But, so I was happy. I'm just saying I'm happy about that. That's not this one. This is the one that lives in this kit. But the 4-inch vice grips is just fine. I've never used one of those fancy impressioning tools, for those who are about to ask. I have never, ever used one of them. I have always used vice grips, and trust me, before I got the clipper and before I learned to do the sight reading and just cutting the key, I impressioned a lot of locks, a nauseating amount of locks. And I'm fairly good at it, but I just don't like doing it anymore. I've stabbed myself one too many times. Also keep a variety of small files in here to buff up the angles. And it looks like we have one pick and rake. That is basically to get me in lock cabinets. And this looks like the release tool for a quickset knob puller, that thing you put on the knob and snap it off. This is the tool that you slide in to release the key blank that yanks it out. I don't know why that's in here, but oh, I know what I mean. Knife. I use that as a knife for filing cabinet locks. Saves my tip from breaking on my pick. And this old GM rake in here. Oh, and a coarser file. I do keep a coarser file in here than my normal impressioning file. I use this to take down the depths faster. I should say, now I use that. But that, more aggressive, takes down the, what am I trying to say? The cut faster than the normal impressioning file. It leaves a much rougher cut, so once I get down to close to where I need to be, I switch it to the fine impressioning file. So anyway, that is about it. Again, I'm going to throw in some of the stuff that I need. R07. Straighten up the rest of this and get to the rest of the truck stuff. Organizing. Shop truck organizing day. I think, actually, these Chrysler keys go in my automotive kit. I don't know why. They go ahead and move out. So, yeah, let's move on out. So to finish this up, I didn't mention that this was a Plano case. They make them in deep and shallow, same size, and then they make the next size down as the blue one here that I use for drill bits, and obviously a bunch of other things. I love Plano cases. And then the next size down from that is the yellow case, which I do have a couple of those for files. I love these because they seal down, especially the files. You want to keep rust off of them. So I love these cases for that. And this just kind of, you know, I'll buy an empty one and just start using it for something. Next thing you know, this happens. And I'm going to go ahead and add, I took out the old automotive because I'm going to put those with my automotive keys instead of traditionally my impression. And even though I do impression the old Fords when I run across them, but I've already got a spot for Chrysler keys, and I'm just going to toss these Ford keys in there with it just in case I run up on a old Ford. But now I'm going to add, I went ahead and added the few keys that I was missing. I added some more NA14s and got my stock here, added a few more B1s, and now I'm going to put in the 1605. Of course, that's Craftsman Toolbox. I've got me 3 empty chambers here that I'm going to be using for these. And BAU1R and BAU1. We're going to make 1620, that's a toolbox, so I'm going to put in here with the Craftsman keys. Got BAU3 and BAU4s. No, BAU2, BAU3, and then BAU4, which are all popular RV camper keys. I may have to readjust this. I may actually, yeah, let's do this. So campers are way more popular now than anything else. So I'm going to put all the keys that I would associate with campers, including my FIC keys in both metal and rubber head. The BAUs, let's see what else. 1645 of Fulton trailer hitch locks. That is commonly used when you have campers or trailers. I've got some pre-cut. These aren't a big deal. These probably should go on my pre-cut ring because I do have a whole separate ring for the common pre-cut keys. But that is a golf cart. I'll put it with the campers because a lot of camping people have golf carts too. 1611R and 1611, that is gas cap or any other double-sided key. I might stress that there are a lot of things that these things could fit, maybe not perfectly, but well enough to do the job. WPT, that is a these new profile cylinder locks on houses. Gotta throw a few of those in there. Century safe keys, throw a few of those in there. Most of the time we cut those at the shop and bring them, but just in case. And then I've got some oddball. This is, I think, Armstrong. Not sure what that fits. 1527, that's a general toolbox key. Again, could be used for any number of things. Trimark 15, that's the camper key. We'll throw it up here with the campers. And WPT1, this is really just a Y11. I'm going to go ahead and throw it down here in the Y11 area. And what do we have here? 1611. We'll put this with the toolboxes. Oh, no. Various keys here. So that fills that out well, and that is it for the video. To see the full enormity of the task I've got here. And I appreciate you guys watching as always. If you have any questions or comments, leave them in the comment section. In the meantime, I've got all the rest of this crap I get to deal with. Catch you next video.